What up, y'all? I'm Phathead, the music child, and I was born and raised in South Nashville, and basically got involved in music at a young age. That being, part of the culture where I grew up at. You know what I'm saying, amongst school and the home life, and got into doing, my own music and battle raps, and basically to sum it all off, kind of come up out of a street situation and learn. And as y'all are about to learn over this 5-part series, there's a lot to my story, that I'd like to put out there. That way, if we can change one person in a good way, then we succeeded. So y'all stay tuned in on this 5-part series. Some good shit.
For sure, and he's definitely got a story to tell. I know just a little bit of it from knowing him, but then I found out, even more. And there's a lot that this man's been through and a lot that he's overcame in the last, his whole life. So it's definitely a good story, and I'm excited to see him rolling out new music because he was one of the major artists in the area back in the 2009, 2010 area, time frame when we were all doing stuff. We were clicked up doing shows. He was, a big part of that movement. So I'm just glad to see him back doing stuff.
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to start, man, just like you want to talk a little bit about, growing up and maybe how you got into rap music or just, stuff that you may have went through as a kid or just something you want to talk about?
Yeah, being born in Vine Hill Projects as basically a natural, zone for drug dealing and rap music and, everything that would happen amongst the poverty line area, and being raised in that, it was very common, to listen to rap and stuff. So it was a natural thing, but I really didn't realize the music was great until I was 7 years old. My dad had been in the penitentiary since 1985, and so he'd done been in there for about maybe 11 years, maximum security. So he had good time, and they shipped him to NCSC minimum security. They called it the farm. And when we went out there to visit, you could basically grill out on the yard and with your family that's visiting you and stuff. And one year they had a fall festival at the penitentiary where they set a stage up and a PA system. And I never forget, my dad was on the grill and they was up there playing, Kid and Play and LL Cool J, and we was up dancing on the stage, me and a couple other kids, and they handed the first kid the microphone, and they were probably a couple years older than I was. I was probably 7. They might have been about 13 or so. And they did a little rhyme with their name, and dude, they gave me the microphone, and I didn't know nothing but a G thing. So I sung that whole song and shook the fuck out of the penitentiary stage, rocked the whole crowd of inmates at 7 years old with a fucking Donatella sweater on, Ninja Turtle. Yeah, dude. Awesome. And it's so epic because, they had me come back the next year and perform Gin and Juice. It's crazy. I wished I could get a hold of the archives, dude.
That'd be something.
Because there is a newspaper clipping I seen when I was young. My dad had it.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing a damn Ninja Turtle sweater on, holding.
What better thing for a 7-year-old to rock?
But I tell you, so with the divine intervention side is when I did nothing but a G thing the first time on the stage, it was natural. I didn't have time to think. So I was walking the stage and hyping the crowd and all the above to where when I come back and did Gin and Juice, I wouldn't move. I was in there popsicle stick like this right here. Dude, I was so nervous, dude. Yeah. But I still rocked it, and that's basically my first tap into music because I felt that outlet, coming from my background. A lot of kids don't have father figures and they don't have, any kind of positive structure to, teach these kids when they're growing up, to have a positive outcome in terms of living life in general. So, with music, it was my outlet. I knew early on, freestyling, at school and stuff like that, and then getting into battle raps and, stuff like that. It was a natural calling. Plus, it was my way of being able to vent and kind of, let my demons out, at that young age.
For sure. And you said that where you grew up at, you said, just so that people know on YouTube, was that Antioch Woodbine area?
Yeah, South Nashville, Woodbine is where I'm from. Yeah. And it's right before you get to Antioch. So basically, if you're coming out of downtown, that's from, 4th Avenue, Norrisville Road, out towards, Harding Place, getting into Antioch. So, But yeah, the slumps of South Nashville
For sure.
come out batting at 1,000.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, so you definitely started at a young age. So when did you get to the point where you started to think, hey, I want to? Did you write your raps, or was you just freestyling your raps that you was doing? Or?
So it's funny because I freestyled up until about 11 years old, and I'd pretty much owned it because by then I knew that's what the crowd pleaser was, and that's what I was known for already. So I'd already built a reputation. Well, there was a teacher named Miss Tidwell at Father Hamilton when I was young. She used to help my mom out. She'd bring beds over, furniture if we didn't have it, for my brothers and stuff. And it turned out her daughter was at Wright Middle. And so I was coming out of alternative school into my 7th grade year, and her daughter was an English teacher. And she had caught wind of, me freestyling at the lunch tables and stuff like that. So she actually sit me down and told me who her mom was, and she was like, you're really, gifted with words. Have you ever sit down and tried to write? And I kind of just brushed it off. Yeah. So another year or two went by, and by then I was getting on the battle rap scene. And this is real battle rap, y'all. I ain't discounting what you see out there today, but these are no writtens. These are real deal battles straight off the top of your head. There is no pre-written shit. If you spit something written, that crowd would chew your ass up. Yeah. And we was young, so after going through that, I got to high school, and that's when the teacher there, Mr. Ellis, he finally sit me down and had me to write, taught me how to write. And from that point on, and just like I was telling you earlier when we was talking, I was scheming on words and metaphors and double and triple entendres back before it was a thing. Nobody even knew to address them as, with that lingo.
You were doing it, you just didn't know that's what it was.
Yeah, we knew what punchlines was, is what we called them, what I'm saying? But really, we was scheming, if you sit and talk about the microwave, baking in the oven, and caking in and out the fridge, eventually you're talking about the kitchen, what I'm saying? You're scheming that whole time. Yeah. So, I mean, basically, through that, I got to writing in high school, and that's when I really realized if I was already very fucking hard at spitting and freestyling, it's even better at writing. So once I wrote my first song, it was pretty much history. I knew right then and there what I would do, for life.
All right, everybody, what's up? It's ChadArmesTV. We're back
with
part two of Phathead Music Child series that we're doing. Part one, we basically just got to kind of know who Phathead was, where he grew up, how he kind of got started in the music game, and then so what we're going to do with this part two is we're going to kind of get more in detail with what he worked on along the way. So when did you, I know you said in part one where you was talking about how you got started and things like that when you first started, writing, and when did you say that you came out with your first project, you think?
So I started recording in a makeshift studio, at my homie's house, and we put a mixtape together called Trunk Hustling Volume 1. Shout out Tony Delano. He did my first album cover, Trunk Hustling Volume 1, we was in Murfreesboro, dude. He shut down 3rd Avenue just to get this crowd shot, for my album cover.
He did a bunch of my artwork back in the day, too.
Yeah, shout out big time.
He still does all Lexus and Worm stuff.
Well, it's crazy because we come back full circle, you know what I'm saying? And with Music Child, you're looking at Tony Delano's art, you know what I'm saying? So, but nonetheless, we dropped Trunk Hustling. My bad. We dropped Trunk Hustling, and it basically got us our first couple shows, you know what I'm saying? So I remember my very first show, was on Antioch Pike right there at that, what was that little bar by Las Palmas? Man, it was right there by the Quick Sack Laundromat liquor store.
I don't remember the name of it.
It was with the Albino Gorillas.
Plainfield?
Yeah, the Plainfield. Yeah. That was my first show I ever done.
T-Shine, man. Salute Albino
Gorillas. Right. And so, we shook it off that first show, and so we got, maybe 4 or 5 shows for that. And by then, I was heavily inspired because now, not only am I knowing that I'm good at rap, freestyle writing, and, just honing my craft, now I know I'm actually recording music, bro. We started off on 5 tracks on a tape player. That's learning to play the whole drum kit in one track. That's the hi-hat, snare, kicks, and all that in one track. Yeah. Went from that to now we're cutting on CDs and dropping this mixtape. So then, fast forward, we had more money to play with, we dropped the Circle of Trust project, and I think that was in 2010.
Yep.
And that's when the Nashville rap scene was just, in my eyes, it could have competed with New Orleans rap run in the 90s when you had Master P dropping every single Tuesday type stuff with all them artists.
Bro, we were so big. I'm so hot about people getting back into it. And people that are still been doing it,
after we did the Circle of Trust, that's the first time I really met you person to person was at the Evansville, Indiana show.
Yep.
It was you, Down and Out Cartel, Bravo Gator, Jelly, Lil White, Big Smo. I mean, it was a star-studded list.
Think about how much that show would cost to put together
now. Oh, dude.
Oh, bro. And
that's 6 figures, bro.
Regular, bro.
That's 6 figures easily.
Yeah.
Shit, Jelly's going to pull half that alone.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy, bro. That was a crazy show, man. We were talking about that off camera, and I forgot that was one of the first time that I did meet you, but it's wild, man.
Yeah.
It was 11 years ago.
Yeah, especially to think that, that was my birthday night on 2010, October the 24th. Now that I remember for a fact. And that's when Lil White was late, you know what I'm saying? Because he'd done been blowing in the lobby and kind of blew the whole lobby out the door.
He came in, but... I mean, yeah, that was a crazy show, man.
But yeah, so basically when we dropped the Circle of Trust, we gained traction and along with the rest of the Nashville scene. And, mind you, at this time, you had so many independent artists in Nashville alone that it eventually brought that buzz to the point that, Lil White did make his way up here and start networking with Nashville artists. And, all of a sudden, we're raising a brow. Because you got people from Atlanta reaching out to Nashville. And, so basically... And it was all of us living what we rapped about, living the street life and then putting it on wax and then putting it out, and then our street people was feeling it.
Yeah.
And so, fast forward through that, it was basically, independency, getting merchandise and making music and partying, having fun, and hell of a run, And then we had a lead video on Circle of Trust for a song called I Know You See It. Lex made the beat.
Yep.
Yeah, and he featured on it.
Yep.
And we got a music video shot by Big Smo. And so, I didn't know Smo super personal at the time, but I did know at the time he had Kicking in Tennessee.
Yep.
Well, the footage on that video then was the kind of quality I wanted. Now, I seen the videos he did for Stack and, other artists around me. And not to say that they were shitty, but they were shitty. I'm just going to call it for what it is. There's little $200 videos.
Yeah.
So I called Smo. I told him, I was like, man, I want what's in your video. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, man, that's real. I paid him his asking price. $1,000 for the video. At that time, that's damn good money.
Yeah, for sure.
So we sit down in the cutting room for 18 hours, and that's the first time I was able to sit down and see, video footage get moved around. I think we had 5 different shot scenes we did, locations, 5 outfit changes, It was a hard-ass video, and basically, as I was hanging out with Smo, he had a couple things turn south in his camp, and he had a big-ass mud ball coming up that he had to do called Muddy Graw in Alto, Texas, and he came to me and was like, man, I need, a hype man, somebody to be on stage with me. He's like, man, can you remember my album in 3 days? So I was like, hell yeah, I can remember your album in 3 days. It ain't gonna be shit, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Did you really believe it, or did you just say?
No, I knew I could. Well, at the time, so how I worked back then is I was strategic anyway. So anybody I networked with, I always went back and listened to their songs and seen what they were involved with, just to keep my front side safe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just to learn more about.
So I had done listen to a few of his songs, and I ain't gonna lie, it wasn't my style. You know what I'm saying? Because I was more street.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. Yeah. But anyways, we went on tour, and being with Smo, I was exposed to crowds of 10,000 plus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And 5,000 plus on these mud bogs. I mean, it was outrageous. And by the time you do 2 years of that shit, and I've got crowds of 5,000, 10,000 plus people screaming my name, and just feeling that adrenaline rush, and just kind of re-solidifying the fact that I know I'm meant to do music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was a good run with Smo, and it just got to a point where things started going differently, and I needed to break away.
Do your own thing, yeah. I mean, it happens, man. Like, but that is a dope, and salute to Salute to O-Rig too, man. Because I knew O-Rig, DJ O-Rig, and I met Smo and O-Rig back in like 2004, and that's gonna O-Rig will tie into.
And seeing the beautiful thing about that whole thing is you know, I'm a firm believer in God. You know what I'm saying? And the divine intervention out of that whole deal. It wasn't the crowd and the adrenaline rush and the exposure. It was the fact that I met O-Rig.
Absolutely.
You know, dude is a genius.
He is, man.
And I feel blessed to know that out of that whole camp, per se, you know, I decided to pluck out the realest one. You know what I'm saying? I'm very blessed for staying in contact with him, you know, because you go without music for 10 years, you lose contact with people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and to be able to reach out knowing I had a solid corner guy, you know, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I've known O-Rig, like I said, I mean, since 2004, and it's been nothing but positive vibes, and he's such a good dude and a talented guy, and wears so many different hats. And, you
right.
know, whether it's producing or DJing or mixing or, you know, whatever.
Well, I mean, his ear is beautiful. You know, he's definitely, and he's a perfectionist within himself too. You know, and yeah. So I mean, out of all them, that I'm just glad that me and him was able to, you know, stem out a great relationship. That way, when all the cards failed, you know what I'm saying, I still had a great relationship. Yeah. Which is, there ain't no bad blood with me and Smo. You know, me and Alex King, me and John Connor, none of them. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no bad blood at all. You know, we'll just say I stepped away at a perfect time.
Yeah.
Because I almost signed a contract to the very first reality show that wasn't on VH1, or it wasn't on A&E. It was going to be on VH1. They was wanting to cover the party side, you know, this touring and wasn't really family oriented.
Yeah.
But I read that contract, and you know, your average person would have signed, you know, dollar signs in your eyes and all that. Yeah, so. Yeah, it was just, you know, crap, basically, and it just got to a point where I know, me being from the streets, you know, I realized real early that it was time for me to go ahead and, you know, exit. So it's kind of a mutual thing, we'll say, you know, no bad blood.
Yeah. All right, so another thing I know people have asked me about is we recently re-uploaded yours and Jelly's freestyle from back in 2010.
Right.
People kind of just wanted a backstory of that. If you want to kind of just talk about that.
Smo had the reality show was going on. The production team was up there, and he had a show. I think it was in Lawrenceburg, Lewisburg, maybe one of these places. And it was a VFW show, and the production crew was going to go alongside and record it and stuff. And Lil White and Jelly had also been up there. And so they went to the show with us, and basically we kind of just camped out up at Smo's for the weekend. And so that Saturday, probably about, I don't know, noon or so, everybody started getting there, and we was just in the country kitchen, you know, listening to some beats and fucking off. And my brother-in-law was like, man, y'all kick a freestyle. And mind you, you know, me and Jelly met each other when we was like 15 years old at a hotel party, and kind of, you know, had a little rap out. I kind of told that story, you know, in that video.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we also battled it out on the stage and on the back deck at the cantina, you know, which is epic shit, you know. But we always had a super respect. We're brothers, you know. And so anyways, we started freestyling, and it's funny because in that video, you know, he couldn't loop the beat, so it kept pausing, and I'd be damned if it didn't pause.
10-minute freestyle.
Every time when I was spitting, it's where the damn thing would cut off. So, you know, I was dealing with that. But yeah, there's a second part to that freestyle. That was part one. There's a second part. I don't know, part C and Lil White didn't release it. I know one of Smo's guys in his camp had some footage of that second part, but yeah, it was lit as hell. And I mean, it was a damn good session, you know. It's spar barring, basically what I call it. You know, it was just, you know, displaying talent. And plus, anytime me and Jelly spit, you know, we've always progressed off of each other in
the back and forth was dope.
In the early of our career. And I even seen a comment, you know, I love the comment section, you know, trolls, you know, I laugh, it's hilarious. But one of the guys in the old comments of the old video said something about you know, Jelly spits hot fire, and Phathead had some bars too, but he kept interrupting Jelly Roll. And somebody had commented under it, was like, bro, they're going back and forth, man. It's two bar format, you know what I'm saying? And kind of just willying off each other's words, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't realize it. So in South Nashville, y'all, that's how we did. So if we was at a party or after show, most times it was after show in the parking lot because they could never get us to leave the fucking building ever.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
4 o'clock in the morning, we're still out there. But that's how we do. We'd have a cipher, you know, and we just basically piggyback off each other's words and ride 2 bars, 4 bars at a time, and you know, and just natural. So yeah, it was definitely epic. You know what I'm saying? And I remember Lil White come up to me afterwards, like, because I'd only met him once before, but he was like, "Damn, I didn't know there was another Jelly in Nashville." I was like, "Shit, it ain't. There's a Phathead." You know what I'm saying? You'll get to know me in due time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've always been, you know, confident in my ability. Still to this day.
Yeah.
You know, it's just scary to think that my lyrics back then are on par, you know, 80% of the music game out here in today's world. But that's why I love where the music industry is right now with the independent artists, because now we have the control. Basically, we don't
For sure we do.
we don't have to rely on, you know, the labels and the radio to thrive. So that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm definitely here to take advantage of that for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was an epic day though. It was definitely, you know, another good highlight in my music career because, you know, Jelly's top tier. You know, I consider myself top tier, so you know it's good to see a Clash of the Titans.
All right, so what's up, everybody? It's ChadArmesTV. We are back with part 3 of the Phathead Music Child series, where we're just basically going over, letting people know who Phathead is and him telling you about his story. On part 2, I'll include the other previous links in every video so you can kind of go back and watch. We'll have a playlist and all that where you can go through all of them. Part 2, we basically spoke about your music career up to, was it 2000 and...
So that would be around 2011 going into 12.
Okay, so now we're basically in this episode we're going to talk about what got you to take your break from music.
Right.
What the reason was, and just kind of like how long you was away and stuff like that. You can just kind of talk about that.
Yeah, so basically, as you could imagine, you know, when you're traveling a lot, it takes a toll on family life. And mind you, at that time, my daughter was probably 4 years old or so, or 5. And it was just a pivotal time in life because, you know, every human goes through that experience of growing up into an adult and realizing, you know, at some point in time, something's got to change, you know. And I was at that moment, you know. I had promised my wife, you know, in the beginning of the run, that if it was to ever become a problem with my home life, that, you know, I'd pull the plug on it. You know what I'm saying? Just because coming from where I'm come from, you know, having a wife and a child and, you know, something to live for, you know, not many people get that opportunity, or at least if they did, they don't take it to heart like they should, you know.
But that's also, you know, due to what you went through growing up.
Right. So being in a single parent household and, you know, not having my father, you know, for 20 plus years with him being incarcerated, basically everything I went through wrong, it gave me a chance to do right, you know, for my daughter and her not to experience the single parent household and her not to know what it's like to have to, you know, sleep without electricity or, you know, dude, we boiled hot dogs on a kerosene heater at my mom's house when I was young. You know what I'm saying? It was bad, but it was good too because that's all what built the character, you know what I'm saying, of who I am today.
And you said you was talking about, what was you saying when you was talking about when you was going to school? And you was having what?
Yeah, so like at that point in time when I was a kid, I say about 12 years old, you know, I lived on the streets because my mom, you know, she got diagnosed with HIV in probably 98. And she went full blown probably 2000, a couple years later. And I mean, it was to a point to where I'd been in and out of foster care so many times that I knew if I missed school that truancy would, you know, get involved and I'd end up back in state's custody. So, you know, we went through a lot of stuff basically for me to stay on the streets of Woodbine where I was safe and comfortable, you know. And so having my own kid, it was every ambition that I had to make sure. And it's funny because, like, my wife, she told me, you know, you want a family and, you know, you want to live a normal life. She's like, get a fucking job and get a house.
Right.
You know, I didn't know what none of that was.
You didn't have it.
Dude, I remember I looked at my first check on doing floor work, you know, my first week of working construction work, and I looked at that check and it was $143, dude, and I was proud because that son bitch said Damien Charette on it. I was like, dude, this thing I ain't never gonna cash it.
Yeah.
Shit, I cashed it. Bills came in, you know how that goes, but
yeah.
So basically I told myself it was time to break away from music because, also at that time, I was no longer involved, in the street game. I'd got to a point to where I was working and providing for my family, and, after losing my mom and my dad and my brother in a short 4-year run, and my brother dying of overdose, it was the point I was like, man, I gotta go. I can't take it no more.
Well, especially since you have a family of your own.
Right. And the scary thing about it was like my wife, she always was ready to go, but I'd push back because I was scared to go away from my resources. So I thought that were my resources and the people I knew, that I grew up with. But best thing I ever did. When I moved out of Nashville, life changed. Everything changed. I learned how to start saving money. I learned how to do what normal people are doing in a normal life. It's like I didn't get my damn driver's license until I was 26 years old. I had a damn learner's permit at 26 and had to have somebody 18 in the passenger seat with license. Ain't that some shit? But it's just it's just how we was raised. So with my family, I wasn't going to have no mishaps like that. I would, plus I've got a wife that, she's the backbone of everything. Especially dealing with the crazy shit I've been involved with. She like caught lightning on a chain. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, just through that, I was able to live a normal life and a simple living. And so I pinned my ears back in construction work and, accepted that humble check, living week to week, saving up what we could. And, everything started falling into place in life because I was no longer attached to the streets. No shit, man. I still sleep on the couch sometimes, you know what I'm saying? Because I have that mentality of just sleeping by the front door of somebody else's house, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's still mental scars I deal with, even today. But, breaking away with my family, it just gives me an opportunity to be normal and kind of experience life. J. Cole said in a recent drop of his that, he had got a beat that he thought was trash or just put it on the back shelf. And he explained how he wouldn't live 8 years of life and realized that was a beat that he could tell a story on.
Yeah.
And it's the same difference here, you know what I'm saying? I was able to go experience life, that way as I made my first solo album. That's the crazy part. Although the networking I've done in music in general, never once did I put out a solo project. It was never once just about me. It was about my hood. It was about, everything. And most of it was lies.
Right.
Crazy part.
Yeah.
But so just moving away, I was able to gain life experience, and it kind of prepped the course for what was to come. So, and it was what I was thinking was music. So I'm thinking I'm gonna ride the sunset in the music, and then God had different plans. As I sit back and I'm humbled and I'm thinking I've got life by the balls, and everything's on the up and up. God set me down. He said, "No, you ain't ready." And I had a terrible accident and almost died.
What's going on, everybody? ChadArmesTV. We are back with another episode of the Phathead Music Child series. Last episode, we left off with him basically getting ready to speak about a bad accident that he had, that he almost died from. So that's what we're going to pick up with on this episode. If you've not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. All of the previous parts will be in the description box, and there's going to be a playlist for all of Phathead's content, to where you can just go on there and watch through all of them. So if you want to go ahead and pick up with where that...
Yeah, so basically last year, May the 25th, Memorial Day, I was working with my wife's grandfather on a rototiller of his in his Poborn across the street from my house. And we was giving it a tune-up, and so we had pulled the spark plug out, and I'd handed it back to him, and he was cleaning it off, and I didn't realize the rubber end on the spark plug wire was deteriorated and old. So when I pulled it off the spark plug, it just crumbled and hit the ground, evidently. And her granddad was like, pull the rope on it, make sure the motor wasn't locked up. And we wasn't thinking about gas in the intake, and I damn sure didn't realize that the rubber hose, had come off the end of that spark plug wire.
Right.
And I pulled that rope, dude, and it was game over, dude. Active flamethrower. I mean, that gas shot out of that intake and it hit that arc perfect. It's like a 1 in a million chance that this would happen. And it's just an active flamethrower, and it lit my ass up. And I mean,
hit you in your face.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt. So I felt the liquid from the gas hit my chest, and I could just remember smelling it. And I hear like, whoosh, and I just looked down, and it was just all the way up my shirt and my face. And for some reason, now I'd reached over and grabbed my shirt from the back and pulled it over my head and dropped it on the ground. So it carried probably 80% of the flame with it, and I was stomping it out, and I turned around and looked at her granddad, and he's like, your damn head's still on fire, dude. And I was literally like patting my head out, trying to put the fire out as I was running out of the pole barn, and man, I got it put out, and I mean, it's nothing short of a blessing. Like with gasoline, when it's on fire, that fire won't go out until that gas is burned off, basically. Yeah. So to pull the shirt off like I did and to be able to pat my head out is nothing short of a blessing. Even when I was in the hospital, because they had, I ran across the street to my wife and I told her, I got to get to the hospital. And at this point, I mean, I hear my skin sizzling, all the way up my torso, my arms. I've not got, I've healed up pretty damn good. Some spots on my hand is still, splotched out, but
we're gonna put pictures in.
Right. Yeah. And so basically, she rushed me to the Marshall County Hospital, and they didn't have a burn unit. The closest burn unit was like in Paris, Tennessee, like some odd hour and a half away. So they didn't know what the fuck to do. They're sitting there looking at me, and all I could do was just hold my arms out and just scream. Like every exhale, I'd just breathe in, I'd go, oh, and like the vibration would seem like it would help the pain. And it was like a dream, almost an out-of-body experience.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
They called Vanderbilt Burn Unit, so then they're like, "No, you got to get him down here." And so they had an ambulance, they had wheeled me out to. And man, I was in the back of the ambulance, and I remember looking at my wife and holding my arm up, dude. And I had a blister sack from the wrist all the way down to my elbow, one large blister on both arms.
Oh man!
I mean, crazy, dude. Yeah. And so, mind you, this is COVID-19. Basically the beginning rush of it.
Yeah.
So as I'm going into Vanderbilt, there's all kind of regulations, with that. And man, they get me back there, and the surgeon comes in, and she starts just peeling dead skin off the wound, and I mean, just very painful. And she told me, there's no way you're really alive right now, because burn victims, when they catch on fire, the first thing they do is scream. So when they open their mouth to scream, they breathe in flames, and most times it'll, blister up their throat. Oh. They'll lose breath. Game over. And she's like, honey, I don't know why, but you held your breath and closed your eyes. She said, your sinus cavity, your throat, your eyes, there ain't not a 0% of burn. But everything on my face is like Freddy Krueger, dude. I had peeled skin, melted everywhere, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty graphic, it's pretty crazy. But yeah, so since COVID-19 was a thing, I've got the surgeon on this arm and my wife on this arm, and she's going step by step with this skin graft medical paper. It's got the antibiotic ointment on it, for burn. And so she's doing this arm, and my wife's doing this arm, because they plan on booting me out of this damn thing in 6 hours. I was there for 6 hours. They didn't even keep me.
That's crazy.
So, I went through a month every day, Bubba. I had to take a shower and scrape dead skin off every wound. Yeah. And I mean, you're talking ears, face, neck, top torso, stomach, arms, hands. I mean, dude, the pictures y'all will see. I mean, it's just terrible. That's when it hit me. There was two things that were real important in my life at that time. My brother that had died, his daughter, I wanted to get custody of her. I wanted her to come home. And I told myself I wouldn't step back into music or wouldn't miss out on music, that I was stepping back into it because I wasn't going to look back and say, what if, God sent me down for a month and a half and he told me, you got a story to tell. And as I had sit back and seen people we grew up with and buzzing, and you know, some of them faded away, some of them still out there working their ass off and doing damn good for themselves. You know, I drew inspiration from that because I do still have a story to tell. And not only that, you know, my music is definitely the way of me doing that, on top of it being therapeutic the whole time. Now I've got a chance to convey that to the world in hopes that I can help out somebody from a therapeutic standpoint.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why this first album is called Music Child, because it saved my life as a kid. You know, where I lost my childhood life of playing video games and toys and stuff, I picked up with actually finding my passion at a young age and not having to go through 20 years of life questioning what my purpose was.
Yeah.
So I think going away and living, you know, 8 to 10 years, 10 years of, you know, experiencing life, and then going through the accident and literally almost dying, it definitely puts things in perspective to the point that, you know, as of January the 1st, 2021, I was in the studio. And so we're almost done now, 80% done. And we're looking to drop, you know, sometime this summer, and it's lights out, game over. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to tell a story. I'm ready to change the world one person at a time. I've got big ambitions, but I know that I can create the kind of following to do it, because, you know, with rap in general, you know, Eminem's a GOAT, the greatest of all time, because of what he does with words. But people misconceptualize the idea of what the greatest is, because you throw Tupac's name out there. Well, why? You know, Tupac wasn't a lyrical king in essence when you talk about how Eminem plays with words, but he was the people's voice.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Eminem will never be the GOAT because he can never be the people's voice, because he can't do a heartfelt song or something that somebody can relate to. You know, he tried with this Revival album, I think it was, or one of them.
A few he did about his daughter, I guess.
And then they're good. I'm not taking nothing away from them.
Sure, yeah.
But it's just the reason that people are 50-50 about it, you know, and the bogus shit you hear about him being a guest in the house of hip-hop was because he ain't hip-hop's voice. He was never able to do that. And it might sound boastful or, you know, bragging, but that door got left open.
Yeah.
I want to be the people's voice. And I ain't scared to talk about it. Let's talk about it. That's my whole thing. You know, there's an addict out there right now that has a kid walking the streets just like I was.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, music is my art in terms of my passion, but what can I do to make that difference?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm alert about it and I'm aware of it and I put it out there and I gain the kind of following that I know I can, and this thing snowballs into a beautiful thing, because at least now the people have an artist out there that they can rely on in terms of real content, real music, and they don't have to, you know, shy away from it. It's something they can represent proudly, because they have somebody that is their voice to tell these young kids, just because you're in a trap house or just because you're born in the ghetto, it don't mean you've got to be a lifetime drug dealer. You don't have to die or go to jail, not today.
Yeah.
God gave us a brain and a heart. God gave us the opportunity to learn. So beat the system. I lucked up and beat the system. And I'm hoping through my music I could portray the kind of knowledge that allows, you know, another kid to embrace it and listen to it, and hopes to, you know, help him with that same dilemma.
The reason that she dies, the reason that I'm alive. All the way you feel, you're not the only one in pain. Keep your head up high above the sky and thank God for better days. All the way you feel, you're not the only one in pain. Just keep your head up high above the sky and thank
He's
God
killing it now.
for
Yeah.
better days.
Is it head held high or head up?
He's killing it, whatever he's doing. I don't know how.
Same reason that she dies, the reason that I'm alive. I know the way you feel. You're not the only one in pain. Just keep your head held high above the sky and thank God for better days.
Is it head up high or head held high?
Cereal that I've been dying for, you know what I'm saying? And then I'm over here happy as fuck taking pictures like, babe, oh my God, they got Sour Patch fucking cereal. You kidding me?
I know, that's crazy.
Right, and then I'm over like...
I wasn't a fan of it. I'd rather have it without the fucking milk and shit, just
Right.
straight out the box.
Well, that's the thing. I remember we had fucking Frosted Flakes and Apple Jacks and shit like that, but I'm still eating it by the handful of dry, like you said, no milk. And now I'm walking through there and they got like fucking Haagen-Dazs cereal, favorite shit mixed in the cereal box, dude. I'm like, fuck, yes, dude.
Yeah, bro.
The bad thing is you get home and everybody tears that shit up. You don't even get to get the bowl like you wanted it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Bro, my favorite on the ice cream truck was the Mickey Mouse bar with the chocolate ears. Bro, with the
no, you be eating on it, and then the face starts sliding down. You get over here on the side, and she
looks like Mickey Mouse had a stroke, didn't it?
Nah, dude, I tell you something. I was conflicted. So when we was buying screwballs back then, it used to have 2 gumballs in it.
Yeah.
Well, somewhere it changed. So when I bought a screwball from this one popsicle stand truck, dude, give me the screwball, and I looked at it, and I was literally like a drug deal. I'm like, nah, bruh, I'm smacking the ball. You shorted me, homie. Where's my other gumball at? I ain't going on that. He's like, no, that's how they come now. I'm sitting there arguing with dude like, nah, ain't no fucking way. Where's my second gumball at, homie? Yeah, 15 years old out there, and then he's like, man, you got a quarter second? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna need that whole fucking thing of screwballs, dude. I'm gonna need the whole box. But yeah, it ain't fair, man. These kids and their foods, they get to enjoy shit that we only dreamed about growing up.
Like green ketchup.
Yeah, like and I'm over here like, dude, that green ketchup, somebody made a real fucking huge mistake at the manufacturer and added the wrong color. And they're like, what are we to do with this shit? And they're like, well, put it through a test trial. If it's safe to consume, we got green ketchup on deck, y'all. Like, man, come on.
You notice it was only lasted for
Limited run.
short.
Yeah.
It just lasted until they were
Because
done with
they
that
had
inventory.
orange and they had purple ketchup.
Yeah, that's right.
They had a bunch of different colors.
Well, it's almost like they fucked up on the green, and they're like, well, you know what? Let's put a purple out. That way it just looks like we made it. Nah. It's like that.
They ain't fooling nobody, are they?
Like that damn charcoal whopper they come out with, dude. Everybody's wanting to
Bro.
go get on. I'm like, man, no, it was a charcoal whopper at Burger King.
Oh, the angry,
Whopper.
yeah.
The black one.
It was making people shit blood and stuff.
Yeah, well, my friend hit me up. She said I shit black the next day.
Yeah,
Straight up
you shit charcoal.
I was like, no.
That's like some
Something else, dude. I miss food stamps. I miss them bad, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because we had food stamps. You go grocery shopping, it didn't make it like fucking
you
sweepstakes.
exactly.
You just smacking the
You
owl
don't
into
even
your
think
car.
about
You know what I'm
it.
saying?
You're like, ooh, I want that one.
I got excited.
You be at the grocery store with a calculator now talking
the
about
paper
99
food
cents.
stamps. Y'all remember that shit?
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Dude.
You couldn't have anything over $1 bill. If you had tried to spend a 10 out of the booklet, they wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
If you had like a 10 or better, it had to be in the same book with the serial number.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'd steal my mama's food stamp book and I'd go and get all the dollars out because I found out I couldn't bust the 5 and 10s. And I'd go into the Chinese store and I'd buy a 5-cent piece of gum and he'd give me 95-cent change back. And I'd do it again and I'd do it again and get up $10 and I'd be over there buying a dime bag and I'm over here getting thrown. That's like the fruit truck, dude, in Vine Hill.
$9.15.
Well, now the kids today get Frosted Flakes with Lucky Charms marshmallows
Man,
in
it
them.
ain't fair. No, they get a box of fucking Lucky Charms, all marshmallows. There ain't even cereal in the shit no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the
Cheat
fuck?
codes.
All the
We
years
just-
I sit and
few and
picked all
far
the
between.
marshmallows out.
Few and far between we had the marshmallows, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
We had dry ass cereal and like 5 marshmallows.
Right.
Yeah, you had
go
to
buy
search
Captain
through 'em.
Crunch
Yeah.
berries, just the berries. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dude, if that ain't supply and demand,
Yeah.
I'm over here picking shit out all these
Yeah,
years.
Reese's Pieces, cupcakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
I seen
what I'm
them and
saying?
was like,
Damn.
dude, that's crazy. And they're big size cupcakes and
Yeah.
it tastes just like a fucking Reese's Piece, dude. I'm like, man.
Good.
And like you said, they rolled out legalizing marijuana, and it literally seems like some of these execs that were already smoking pot
Yeah, now that
and coming in and then putting these great ideas out, they was filtering themselves. Like, man, I can't tell them about the fucking super ice cream cereal that I had an idea about, but I could roll this out because they might think I'm smoking pot.
Yeah.
They legalize that shit now. They're in their own Oval Office blowing, talking about,
Yeah.
that's a damn good idea.
Here's double cheeseburger flavored ice cream.
Right. Dude, I'll never forget, dude. We was on them Xanax bars, dude, and went to Walmart about 3 in the morning. Well, as we're walking in there, they had this big ass display of Blueberry and Count Chocolate cereal. I hadn't seen this shit in years, so I'm going straight in the nostalgia mode.
Yeah.
So we buy like 5 boxes, me and my homie do, and we get back to the house and we've got mixing bowls of cereal. And you know, when you're on them bars, you be wanting to eat and drink any fucking ways.
dude.
Yeah.
Man, I passed out, and we wake up the next morning, and I look over at my homie's bed, and his dog is sitting there licking his back, dude. And I stood up. This dude fell asleep with the mixing bowl and never finished it, so all of it spilled. He stood up. This dude had blueberries all the way up his fucking back, dude. And his dog was like, I start laughing so fucking hard, and he's mad. And he's like, man, fuck this shit. And I'm laughing, trolling him. I'm like, you stupid motherfucker, you the one that fell asleep with a bowl of cereal? Hell, your dog just cleaned your mess up.
About to smoke a cigarette.